We are doing the Fugitive Slave Law by Anna Hartman,
Samantha Bahnick,
Maryiam, Ahmed,
and Mia Boardman.
The slave law was passed on September 18, 1850 by the Congress. They made the fugitive slave law because Southern leaders began warning that they were going to leave the Union. They thought leaving would be the only way to preserve slavery. The Southern states with slaves were about to secede from the nation, so the government passed the Fugitive Slave Law, which was part of the Compromise of 1850. This slowed down the Southern states from seceding from the nation. This law made controversy with the North, who were abolitionists, and vowed to interfere with its execution.
In the 1850s, the Underground Railroad was alive in the North. There were more documented escapes during that time than slave captures and returns. Northern states were now pushing their limits by creating state laws that interfered with the Fugitive Slave Law, so slave owners couldn't reclaim their slaves in the northern states. The South complained that these laws were interfering with the federal law. The South was outraged with the lack of enforcement of the law. They were losing free work and nothing was being done about it. Then, in 1860, South Carolina was the first to secede from the Union, followed by Mississippi, Florida, and Alabama in 1861. More and more states left to form a new government, the Confederacy.
How did the Fugitive Slave Law affect the North and the South? In the North, people were mad about helping catch slaves who deserved freedom. After all, they did want to abolish slavery. The South, however, were glad. So many of slaves were using the Underground Railroad to freedom, but this act can help get them back. To them, slavery was essential for plantations, for house chores, blacksmithing, boiling sugar, etc. While people were searching the North for runaways, they were also kidnapping free blacks and selling them as slaves in the South.
For a recap of what we learned today, we discussed the elaborate facts involved in the Fugitive Slave Act. Many free blacks were kidnapped and sold into slavery, mistaken for runaway slaves. The law stated that the owners of slaves who were white and had the right to search for runaway slaves scattered across the country. The law was listed in the book, The Annals of Congress, and the law was passed mid-September 1850. The people thought that this act would slow down the constant escape of slaves, but it didn't. What it did do was slow down the southern states from seceding from the Union. It made slaves even more willing to run away from their owners. The best time for this to happen was somewhat day and not so surprisingly night. Anyone who was caught aiding in the escape of slaves was charged a $500 fine, which at the time was a whole lot. The public thought that slaves were basically asking for a beating, which they weren't. But what happened next? A lot happened. Slaves being whipped, slapped, hit, bit, bullied, pushed, worked to the brim, cut, broken, tormented, separated from the only home they ever had, and sometimes even killed. But for the slaves that did successfully escape, there were a total of 3,000 homes built for them in the Underground Railroad. The freed slave groups thrived. Luckily, in the end, this act failed. Bad for the Confederate followers, but good for the others. But were all the African Americans free? Not necessarily.